You're listening to the Full Send Rejects. I'm your host, Kodak. There you go,
Chatting on
Billy.
back
Way
and
to
forth.
catch up there. The other
Yeah,
Kodak
my
is
internet
out
did a thing.
because internet did a thing. That's fair. The other Kodak is out due to sickness. She cannot go 5 minutes without sniffling or coughing, so she is out this week for this episode. But in this episode, we are looking at a frontiersman, a gangster, and someone who just conned his way into a criminal empire 3 times. One Soapy Smith.
And Alaska
But
is involved.
bef- what's that?
And Alaska is involved.
Who's involved?
Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska is involved. There's Alaska, there's Denver, and there's another surprise destination. Not that
Oh,
far
see, I
from
just knew
Denver, actually.
Alaska.
Yeah, there's a few in there. He has 3 different empires, and we'll get there. And we do have our typical pre-topic banter. First off, I just want to say Pittsburgh's better than Baltimore.
They sure are. I'm not even
Uh,
denying it.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're over your World Series hangover. This is your first appearance since the Yankees lost. Glad it's finally over. I definitely have not been saying that as your reason for not being on the podcast lately.
No, you were right. I like it.
It happens. It happens. But yeah, Pittsburgh's better than Ravens. They're better than the Bengals, and they lose to snow apparently.
Yeah, Justin Tucker should lose his job.
That's again, that's a trade where I will absolutely always rub in your face for quite a while. Where every league I've ever been in for the past 3 years, especially with you, I take Justin Tucker. And then last year in our dynasty, I give you Justin Tucker for Chris Boswell. And let's see here. Let's look at some stats here. Chris Boswell right now, let's see here, is the
He didn't
number
miss
one
any.
kicker. He missed one today.
Oh, did he?
It was blocked, but yeah.
Oh, well, that doesn't count. That's not a miss.
Yeah, well, still number one kicker in fantasy, the 40th overall fantasy player, so that's something.
It is something. Holy
Let's
shit.
see. Yeah, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. Let's see, Justin Tucker. How was he looking? Let's see here. He's still a top 10 kicker in
How?
fantasy anyway.
My phone's on the
Let's
charger. I'd look.
see. There's a stretch we had a couple. Well, lately it's not been good. 5 points, 7 points, 4 points, 1 point. Ooh, yeah. That's not great. He's not. See, the thing is, I think you're looking at it wrong. You're so used to Justin Tucker being outstanding, where now you just have an average kicker, and it's reality's coming in.
He's not an average kicker. He's a bad kicker now.
I think he's average.
He missed a 34-yarder. He missed an extra point.
It happens. Average kickers miss extra points.
Yeah, but they don't go on to miss 3 more. He did hit a 50-some yarder though.
Yeah, you got me there. He is washed. It's a wash for him.
Yeah, he better be fired by tomorrow afternoon.
You thought I mean, yeah, and then you're gonna see what's happened to you is what happened to Pittsburgh when we lost Jeff Reed, and they went through all these terrible cokey kickers. I
Ryan
still
Suckup?
heavily hate Josh Scobie. Huh?
No, it was Josh Scobie. It wasn't Ryan Suckup. Was it Ryan Suckup?
No, it was Josh Scobie who was a complete fucking disaster. I hated him. And then it was after him, Chris Bosgod came in, and all of our kicker problems went away. Except for that one year
Yeah,
where he couldn't kick for some reason.
Scobie missed like 3 the first game we played.
Yeah, it was. I hated it. It was a terrible time. We literally could not depend on anything. And
Yeah,
when you
no,
play
it sounds
Pittsburgh ball,
familiar.
you need a kicker.
Yeah, I miss having one that was automatic. That was a good time.
It's alright. One day you will have the success. Oh, here we go. Let's see here. Josh Goby's 1 year in Pittsburgh, 6 for 10 on field goals with a missed extra point.
And dude was automatic for Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yeah. Pittsburgh cut him after 2 missed field goals against the Ravens and then signed Chris Boswell 2 days later.
Yep, I remember him
So
missing those.
if you think about it, Justin Tucker being a great kicker and winning that game led to Chris Boswell being here today. So
Comes
thank
full
you.
circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I do what I can.
So yeah, you do a lot. So before we've been talking about doing reviews and stuff, and I finished a game. I actually put enough focus onto one single game, the Insomniac Spider-Man 2. Fucking solid.
Is that for only PlayStation, probably?
Yeah, it's PlayStation only because Xbox told them to fuck off and they don't need a Spider-Man game.
They're
Well, so the first one was brilliantly done. It was wonderful game. The ending made me cry a little bit. uh,
There was a
because
Spider-Man game
they
back in the early 2000s that was solid. That was the last game I played.
well, they typically are solid games. It's hard to like make a bad Spider. I mean, it's been done before, but it's hard to make a bad one. But like the first Insomniac game that they made for the PlayStation, again, a solid game. It was well done. Doctor Octopus was a phenomenal villain. And then the semi sequel they made to feature on Miles, the other Spider Man. It was a shorter game. It was good. It could have been a little bit better, but it was a short game. But then this one, so the only like bad thing about it was they kind of went too much into Venom because like the first because like how they usually do it is you have two antagonists. So one in the first half of the game, one in the other half, the second half of the game, and this one
Yeah,
started out
yeah,
with
yeah.
Craven. Yeah, Craven was really good, well done. I liked his character, everything about it. And then when they bring in Venom, because first it, by the way, here comes some spoilers. Unless Bill, you tell me no.
I'm not gonna play the fucking game. You think I'm getting a PlayStation?
Fair enough. Okay, so spoilers. So Harry Osborn gets the Venom symbiote first. Because like in the first one, they're like, oh, he's dying. So he has a Venom symbiote and it's going good. And then out of nowhere it joins with Peter. Go figure. Anyone who knows Spider Man knows it's gonna happen.
Ooh, emo
And
Peter
then
Parker.
huh? Oh yeah, his emo
Emo
phase.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, emo Parker, emo man, the spider emo. And things like the writing for it was very well done because he slowly delves into like he's gonna kill some people. Like at one point, you're finding the lizard and whatnot. You're trying to find the lizard because you're trying to help him become Dr. Connors again.
Mm-hmm.
And the second spot, because you play it with both Spider-Man. The second Miles, he's just like, careful, he has teeth. And you just hear Peter's voice get dark, like deep, and he's like, I have teeth. It's like, all right, Venom's
Well, that's
coming.
weird. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah. Well, at some point you play as MJ and you're trying to like help Peter out and things get dark real quick and it's a little terrifying, not gonna lie. But where they go too far with Venom is first of all his whole premise is since he joins with Harry, he wants to quote heal the world.
Hmm.
You know, turn everyone into a symbiote so they can be have better lives.
Right, right, right.
Which okay, yeah, if you it's a decent plot line for a villain like that. But then at some point, well, first of all, Venom can't use webs for some reason. He doesn't swing with webs.
Hmm.
He also at one point develops wings.
That's the thing I could see happening.
Well, it not like, huh?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay, sorry. But like, it's not like wings that are fitting for his character. They're like just monstrosity like huge, and it just pops up for like one fight. I don't necessarily get it. Like, up to that point, I think it was really well done. Like, there's at one point you're fighting several symbiotes and the lights keep going out, so you have to rely on your spider sense a lot, and there is like you versus 50. Yeah. All in all, it's probably like a 4.5 out of 5-star game. It's just that how they use Venom at the end, I don't like it.
Would you say it's better than
Ever,
Arkham City?
yeah. And however, at the end, they're already teasing the Green Goblin's coming for the next game. One thing that kind of sucked because, like, the first game they had DLCs, and they originally had DLCs for this game, and then they scrapped them all. One of them was going to involve Carnage.
Oh, they fucked up not putting that in.
Well, there's like a side mission you do where you're like chasing down a cult, and when you get to the end of it, you find out the guy's name is his other name is Cletus Cassidy, and he's sitting like he's saying he's going to unleash Carnage once he gets part of the symbiote from Oscorp. So
Yep, I won't like the
hopefully
game
they keep
because
that up.
there's no Carnage.
Yeah, I just hope they keep it for the next game because that would be real. Carnage is an amazing character, and he was fucked over in the movies with Woody Harrelson. I mean, Woody Harrelson did a good portrayal, but just the writing and director of the movie was just terrible.
Carnage is best Spider-Man villain.
Do you ever see that one?
Bits and pieces of it. I fell off with Spider-Man for some reason.
It's not great. It's just horribly paced, but yeah. That's gonna be my review for the Spider-Man game.
Yeah, a PlayStation game that
I mean,
Billy
if you
will
have
never play.
yeah, unfortunately. It is fun though. Maybe one day they'll get an Xbox game.
Yeah, I refuse to make the jump. I'm too far gone.
Well, I've always had PlayStation, and then one day, like a few years ago, someone was like, "Hey, I'm selling my Xbox, $200," and it comes with like 8 games and all this stuff for it. I'm like, worst case, I don't like it, and I just flip everything. Ended up liking it, so here I am.
And now we can play the show.
Yeah, the show is also is free on PlayStation this year.
And it's probably cross-gen by now.
I wouldn't doubt it. But unless
That's
you
what I
have
know it is.
anything extra here, we are, huh?
No, nothing. I know the show's cross-gen now. I forgot for a second. We're good.
All right. Well, if you have anything else to add here, we're ready to go to our main topic.
I got nothing.
All
That
right,
is a boring
fucking
life.
solid. It's okay, Billy. So we're going to the wild, wild west, the last American frontier that was a land of lawlessness filled with those seeking fortune during the rush, filled with tiny towns who never knew if they would be targeted next by a gang. On this episode, I'll be venturing to this frontier, focusing on one Jefferson Randolph Soapy Smith, a con artist gangster who ran confident schemes across the West with his criminal enterprise stretching from Colorado to the District of Alaska. Nope, not the state, but this is still a district.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't. Uh, Alaska didn't get statehood till like the 40s or 50s.
Oh, yeah, looking at the years, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Now, the name Soapy, I'll explain this later. It comes from his signature soap trick where he sold soap bars to those randomly who tell him with money inside them. However, he made sure all of his prize soaps went to gang members.
I was gonna ask about his name.
Yeah, I'll get into it, but he kind of just like, hey, look, here's soap bars with money, and people buy soap. Trying to, it's like a lottery, but it was
Yeah,
rigged.
they do that shit with candles now.
Yeah, basically, there you go. He was a trendsetter.
Yeah, look at that.
So, going into his early life, Soapy was born on November 2nd, 1860, in Coweta County, Georgia. Now, using land owned by Cree only 4 decades before, Soapy's grandfather uh, owned a plantation and served as a legislator while his father was a prominent attorney. But despite being born into money, the family would face financial difficulties following the end of the Civil War. Georgia didn't do too well during the Civil War. I don't know if we want to get into that part of American history, but it didn't.
The South will rise again.
So in 1876, the family moved to Round Rock, Texas. 2 years later, the small town would be the location of a famous shootout with train robber Sam Bass. And now, if I'm around a train robber being killed, I might think, you know what? I might go into a different line of work, stay on the straight and narrow. But Soapy, who saw this, thought, you know what? I might go into a career as a confidence man. While at the same time, he lost his mother to the Grim Reaper, so he's just saying fuck it and just going for crime.
Yeah, I mean, once you lose that, you may as well.
Yeah, his family was broke because, once he had to pay workers, they couldn't afford the plantations, and then his mom died and whatnot. So here we are.
Thanks, Lincoln.
I used to have a guy for that, dick. So Soapy moved to Fort Worth, Texas, where he found thieves and shills to work for him in a very close-knit gang, quickly becoming a well-known crime boss known as the King of the Frontier, Conman. His gang included some well-known criminals such as gunslinger Texas Jack Vermillion and future crime boss Big Ed Burns. The Soap Gang would drift from town to town, taking advantage of unsuspecting people. To avoid being figured out, they would rely on short cons, including the shell game, rigged poker games, and three-card Monty. And if you're not familiar with the shell game, it's that little thing where they get a little pebble under the shell, toss them around, whatnot, and find a way to cheat.
Okay.
Yeah, so all in all, and three-card Monty is like where you have 3 cards, you're trying to find the queen or something like that, but they're all rigged.
Yeah, I vaguely know that one. I just like that it's called the Soap Gang.
Well, yeah, that's the actual name. It's fucking fantastic. And it's actually really smart how they do this. Like, wait, let's just not be too greedy, win some money here, and move to another town.
I'm into it.
But I am about to explain the soap racket here because of all the ways to swindle people, the soap gang would rely on the prize soap racket, where Soapy would display a case filled with bars of soap. He would go on a busy corner of a street, and with plenty of people to see, he would wrap money up to $100 around a few select bars and hide the money in plain paper around the bar so it cannot be identified as easily. So this is, basically like your run-of-the-mill carnival game that you could find. This brought on a bunch of onlookers who want to take their chance to win $100. Keep in mind, this is not 1890 anymore, but this is the early. Actually, no, yeah, late 1800s. I'm sorry. $100 goes for a long way.
Yeah, I'm still gonna picture this dude as a carnival barker though. Come on, you look like you sing.
Yeah, that's basically he's a carnival guy at this point. He is a carny. He's a carny. Um, he would have the price soap in with regular soap and sold the bars for $1 a piece. He would have a gang member buy a bar with money in it, or maybe not, tear it open, and just yell out he won some money, waving it for all to see. He would do this a couple times, and each time Soapy would announce a $100 bill remained in there, but however, due to the sleight of hand tricks, he can ensure all the prize bars went to his gang members. So the money stayed within the gang, and he got more money from people just buying bars of soap.
You slick son of a bitch.
It's actually pretty fucking smart. However, he did get caught once by a policeman who was smarter than your average bear. However, he wasn't that smart because for having the intelligence to identify he's swindling people, this is wrong. The cop kind of just forgot who Smith's name was. And when he arrested him, he just put Soapy for his first name. So that's kind of why Soapy Smith kind of just stuck around.
And it probably made his
So
complaint invalid.
yeah, it led to a release.
Yep.
But again, it's not like he's out murdering people or definitely not doing any foreshadowing there. It's fine.
If anything, he's doing people favors.
Yeah, he's doing some favors. We'll get
Who
there. He's
wouldn't?
about to
Oh,
take a little turn for some more. Yeah, just wait. This is a true man of the people, as we'll get there. Because now we're arriving in Denver. The year's 1879, and in a few short years, he managed to build a criminal empire, which came in thanks to he had a lot more influence in the city hall, which actually allowed him to stay put in the city instead of having to move around. And enjoying his new protection from corrupt officials, he would become a lot more involved with criminal activities in the city, not just his own gain, but kind of like gains in general in the area. Even local newspapers began to write reports that he controlled the city's underground and that he had power because he's able to bribe local police officers and politicians. So here's where our little man of the people comes in. So he began to work with saloon owners. He would give them kickbacks to run his scams. However, he did not target locals, but took aim at travelers. This won the local people over because he donated heavily to the local churches, helped the poor out. If someone was arrested, he would get them released almost immediately. He also made his saloons available for ministry work on Sundays, which in 19th century America pretty big way to win over the locals.
yeah. I don't know why they just didn't do stuff on Sundays.
Yeah, it's like Midwest, small city, 19th century America. As long as you're not causing trouble for the locals, you're burning their money, and you're a church person, they kind of turn a blind eye to anything.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah. So in 1888, Smith opened up the Trivoli Club, which was a saloon mixed with a gambling house located on Market and 17th Street, with a warning sign above the entrance to the games Caveat Emptor, which was Latin for let the buyer beware, which is great because there's a lot of people who can't speak English, let alone Latin. So it was kind of a joke for him.
At least he warned people. I mean, in an asshole way, but he did.
Yeah, but this is more for himself because he knew people couldn't read this.
All right.
People literally saw Latin and thought it was some fancy thing. No, it was just a warning, yeah. But he
Yeah,
knew
you
they
put
couldn't read
Latin
it.
on something, it becomes real official.
Yeah. So someone else becoming official is Bascom Smith, his younger brother, officially joining his gang, and he opened up a cigar shop that served as a front for the poker games and other swindlers that operated in the back rooms. Now, this included running fraudulent lottery shops, stock exchanges, fake auctions, and part of the stock exchanges, they kind of just sold stocks of companies that just did not exist.
All right, I'm
Again,
starting to like this guy.
it's not like you can. Yeah, he's smart. Like this is a smart operation. They're not going around like killing people. They're not doing this stuff. They're kind of like, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of people who are just coming on through, and we're gonna try and fucking take some money. Um, well, we'll get there. We take a turn later. So, as the bribes grew, police officers would patrol areas around Smith's gangs less and would ultimately stop arresting his guys, mostly because those who were not bribable were afraid of his anger and his army of attorneys that would manage quick releases anyway. However, there was a scandal during an electoral fraud trial in 1889 that brought attention to the corruptions and the payoffs that included the mayor and the chief of police. So there was actually a headline in a newspaper called "The Firm of Londoner, Farley, and Smith." Londoner Farley being the mayor and police chief. So heads began to roll, as in instead of Soapy getting in trouble, the mayor was just removed from office. And during this time, Soapy was like, maybe I'll expand a little bit. So he opened up a new office a block south of his club so he can swindle even more people.
That is a ballsy move.
Yeah, but as ballsy moves come up, Smith, he had his enemies and other crime bosses who wanted to take his power, made attempts on his life. However, none of them stopped him, and Soapy, being Soapy, he actually managed to shoot an assailant here and there.
Well, I mean, self-defense. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. There's like, hey, you're doing gambling. He's like, shut up. They're like, okay, I'm gonna kill you. He's like, yeah, just kidding. Uno reverse card.
Kill me, I'll kill
However,
you.
in a couple of fuck on me, fuck on you. So in 1892, some reforms came through Denver, some focus on the anti-gambling and saloon reforms. So being the savvy businessman Smith, or Soapy Smith was, he sold his club and moved a short distance away to Creede, Colorado, which was a boom town that was thriving during a silver strike. Soapy, being the clever businessman, brought in prostitutes from Denver to kind of just give to the rich there, property owners and whatnot. And these prostitutes help convince them to sign over leases to Soapy. So, lesson here, sex literally sells.
Always has, always will.
Yep. So, thanks to these prostitutes, he acquired numerous lots along the main street and rented them to his associates. Again, being smart here, let people do the hard work, collect some rent, move on with your life.
Don't hate it.
He don't hate the player, hate the game. He did this enough to where we got enough allies where he announced himself as a crime boss. So we're on Empire number 2 here. Now, what helped Soapy was his brother-in-law, William Sidney Cap, Light, served as the deputy sheriff and actually joined Soapy's criminal empire here. Soapy opened a new gambling hall and a saloon called the Orleans Club, which briefly showcased a petrified man named McGinty for an admission of 10 cents. And while customers waited in line, Soapy would run his 3 card Monty and shell games to scam people out of more money. So people are just in line, and these lines will go out the door and like down the street, waiting to find like this dead guy or whatever who's just petrified there, and he's just sitting there playing more games to get more money from him.
I've heard of McGinty before, actually.
Yeah, he's been around to a few places. I don't know how I think he just bought them. He heard about it and just bought them, and then kind of got rid of them at some point.
Yeah, I heard
I
about it
don't
through a
think.
P.T. Barnum podcast, I think.
Yeah, I heard about him before, but I don't think they ever figured out who he actually was. He was kind of just there.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened.
So, like in Denver, Smith got a reputation for himself. He was known for keeping order of things while protecting his friends and associates from the town's council while taking care of any violent troublemakers in the process. Yeah, violence was bad for business, so if you started a fight in a club or in around those areas, your ass will be handed to you and be kicked out of town.
Dig it.
So, while providing protection for the locals and getting rich doing so, Smith once again gave away more money freely. He built some churches, helped the poor, and actually took care of prostitutes, which might sound silly to include, but pretty forward thinking at the time when, thinking prostitutes are actually people.
Sex workers are workers.
Yeah, sex workers. Yeah, we'll be correct here. But he generally took care of his people, the townspeople he was taking care of. As long as you didn't start shit, he kind of took care of you. However, Creed's economic boom began to fade, and corrupt Denver officials sent messages that the reforms in Denver were coming to an end, which prompted Smith to return to Denver, where he brought McGinty with him.
Yeah.
When this is a great time because it wasn't long after leaving Creed, a huge fire broke out, and it took out several buildings, including his Orleans club.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad he brought McGinty. We could get in the carpool lane.
Yeah, that's smart. You get in your caravan, your horse and buggy, and now you can go. The toll road's probably cheaper now too.
Yeah, smart thinking.
So back to Denver, it did not take Soapy long to reestablish himself. He opened up new businesses to serve as fronts for his cons. A new one involved telling potential train ticket buyers that they could play a game to receive discounted tickets since the ticket agent was out of an office. At this point, Soapy just didn't fucking care anymore, and he literally told the press he was a proud con man. I consider bunco steering more honorable than the life led by an average politician. And considering he actually helped the local poor people, kind of has a point.
Yeah, no, I'm with this guy. Soapy for Prez.
Well, here's some violence for you. So in 1894, a new governor comes into power, Davis Hanson Waite, and he went to work right away. He did not like corruption. This was an honest politician. He fired 3 Denver officials right away for being corrupt, and let's just remember here, Denver is part of the Wild West right now. These 3 officials said fuck it and barricaded themselves in Denver City Hall with others who felt they were next. So
That's
Governor Waite
dedication to
called
the
on the state.
job.
Oh yeah, yeah. They want. I mean, you gotta think they had power. So Governor Waite decided to showcase his own power, called on the state militia, and they came packing, bringing 2 cannons and 2 Gatling guns.
Fuck yeah, cannon.
Now, fucking cannons. Among those barricaded was none other than Soapy, who was recently commissioned as a deputy sheriff. Go figure. Now, Soapy and others climbed the central tower with rifles and dynamite to fight off the militia. The governor soon backed down and took his fight to the courts, where Soapy was a major witness, because, deputy sheriff. The Colorado Supreme Court ruled in favor of the governor having power to remove the locals, but he was reprimanded for bringing the militia to what was later known as the City Hall War. So, being granted this power, Governor Waite ordered the closure of all of Denver's gambling dens, saloons, and bordellos. However, Soapy, being Soapy, used his new sheriff position to arrest rivals instead. Gotta love
Love
it.
it.
Corruption at speed right here. He also faked arrests of those who lost large sums of money in his establishment. By that I mean, like, if someone came in and they lost a lot of money before they had a chance to win their money back, he would just arrest them for gambling. However, some of these people were just happy just to be escorted out of the establishment instead of being arrested, which was just a giant ploy Soapy used to keep people from recouping their losses. Because he arrested them, but kind of like just let them go.
Fuck Albert Einstein. This guy's a genius.
Yeah, this guy's pretty smart. For a criminal, he is pretty on the nose. But however, soon Soapy and his brother Bascom became too notorious, and even the most corrupt officials could not protect them any longer. Bascom was jailed for attempted murder after the beating of a saloon manager. However, Soapy managed to get away. Um, Another fun little adventure here Soapy went on is he tried to convince the Mexican president, President Diaz, that the country needed American leadership to help the country. And Soapy actually managed to open a recruiting service under the name Colonel Smith, but soon this little idea failed.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There's the asshole.
Don't worry, we'll get back to some stuff like that. But um, now we're going to 1897, where 100,000 people descend into the Yukon in search of a newly discovered gold in what is now known as a Klondike Gold Rush. Yes, what would you do for a Klondike Gold? I practiced that in the mirror.
I know you did.
So anyway, some of these people was Smith and his gang. This is the Alaska territory we're talking about as well now. He opened a gaming house along the White Pass train, but was convinced to leave after a few weeks later. Soapy spent some time in DC and St. Louis, but returned to the area in January 1898. On his second attempt in Skagway, he quickly got the town's deputy U.S. Marshal on his payroll and began collecting allies for a hostile takeover around the area. He set up a fake telegraph office where he charged fees to send telegrams. However, the wires he used reached the walls and did not connect to anything. Which, if
That
you
sucks.
fell for this, well, wait till you hear this little snippet. So this is 1898, right?
Mhm.
Telegraph lines did not reach a settlement until 1901. So somehow Soapy convinced people to send telegrams in an area where there were not telegraph lines.
All right. Yeah. No, this guy's great. I can
So
get over
Soapy
the
opened a
whole Native
saloon.
American.
Well, I think you're gonna like this one. He opened up a saloon which he just called Jeff.
All right.
This was
Usually
also
when I
his
call
office or
something.
in his operation. Yeah, just Jeff. Despite the town having a municipal building, Jeff became known as the real city hall. Yeah,
That's gonna get real
Jeff is the
confusing.
is my name's Jeff.
Yeah, I gotta go
So
Jeff.
Soapy's men flooded. What's that?
Yeah, I gotta go to the Jeff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play cards at Jeff. You mean what Jeff? No, at Jeff. The fuck do you mean? Martha?
Jeff might
Who's
be
this
there.
Jeff fellow?
Jeff might
Imagine,
be
imagine
there. I
me
don't
named
know.
Jeff in this. Oh my god. So Soapy's men flooded the town, where they played a variety of roles, such as newspaper reporter and clergyman, where they used these positions to befriend new arrivals and steer them towards Soapy's establishment. If a person did not participate in these activities or join his gang, Soapy would help, quote, pay their way back into civilization.
What does that mean?
Get their asses kicked and be kicked out.
All right.
So, a vigilante committee known as the Committee of 101 threatened to expel Soapy and his gang. So, Soapy formed a 317 member strong law and order society in order to submit to vigilantes. A lot of the petty gamblers and Conman did actually leave, so Soapy changed course to appear more respectable to the community. You know, adapt and survive.
Yeah, modern problem solved.
Yeah. So another problem arose, which had nothing to do with him, but he found a way to get involved. The Spanish American War of 1898, where Smith formed his own army with the actual approval of the U.S. Department of War. And honestly, there's something funny about a con man having his own militia sanctioned by the military, by the U.S. government.
The best thing I have ever heard.
So this army, which comprised of all volunteers, became known as the Skagway Military Company, with Soapy serving as a commissioned captain. And if you want to know how far this went, fucking President William McKinley officially recognized the company, which allowed Soapy to just strengthen his hold in the community.
All
And
right.
they even had a parade for this man on July 4th, Independence Day, where Smith rode as a marshal of the 4th Division of a parade leading his army on his horse, being seated next to the territorial governor and other officials. Yeah, he somehow became a federally recognized captain of his own militia, and he's a con man. That shows this is how incredible the U.S. government is.
That we just did the same thing.
Yeah, we did. So a few days later, after this parade, on the 7th, miner John Douglas Stewart came to Skagway with a sack of gold worth $2,700, which is worth about 99 grand now.
Oh shit.
So, three gang members tried to get him to play a game of three card Monty, however, he refused. So, the gangsters just kind of just stole the sack. Now, the Committee of 101 demanded the sack be returned, but Soapy said that Stewart had lost it fairly in the game. Keep in mind, he didn't play the game.
Yeah.
So, on the evening of the 8th, the Vigilance Committee held a meeting on the Juneau Wharf with a. Now, So they're in there figuring out what to do. So what does Soapy do? He comes down with a Winchester rifle over his shoulder, where he got stopped by a guard, Frank H. Reed, and they began to argue. So, Wild West, a shootout occurred. Both men would be fatally wounded, though. Soapy's last words were, "My God, don't shoot." Sam Steele, who served as the head of the Canadian Mounties, believed a different guard, Jesse Murphy, was actually the one who fired the fatal shot. Soapy died of a broken heart. By that I mean there was a bullet lodged in his heart.
I read further when you said that. That's why I laughed.
So he also had bullets in his legs, arms, and his elbow. But yeah, the fatal one was a bullet that was legitimately lodged in his heart, which was definitely more than a flesh wound. The guard himself, Reed, died 12 days later with a bullet in his leg and groin area. The three gang members themselves were later jailed for robbing Stort, and Soapy was buried a few yards outside the city cemetery.
What
So
outside?
that, as a disrespect to him.
Oh well, that's a dick move.
Yeah, the committee is like, well, you're causing a ruckus here. And I didn't touch too much on it, but he did have some violent tendencies where he would get into fights here and there. But he's a scrappy guy, you know? What do you expect? Fun fact, there are two annual festivals you can go celebrate Soapy. The first one is an annual wake they hold in Skagway on July 8th. The tradition started when the wife of one of Soapy's sons' last wish when she passed away was to have the other family come there and remember him in a quote informal Irish wake style. I'm gonna let you figure that one out.
She won't
A
get
lot of the
drunk.
family, what's that?
She want everyone to get drunk.
Basically, but we're getting fucking hammered. And a lot of people, the family did not want to, but it was her last wish, so they felt guilty. And again, this was early Christian times, so they didn't want to piss anyone off. So yeah, they did it, and that was a
You got
annual
it. Strike it
thing.
down.
There's also yeah, there's also the Magic Castle in Hollywood that has an annual Soapy Smith party that's complete with costumes, charity gambling, and magic shows. I don't know why Hollywood, but yeah, fuck it.
The Magic Castle's dope because you need like suits and shit to go.
Yeah, I look, it's a good time. It looks like a good time anyway. There's also dozens of media that shows the life of Soapy Smith, or at least draws tension or has a character based off him. Fiction, nonfiction, books, movies, shows. There's even a starship in a Star Trek novel called the USS Jefferson Randolph Smith. Apparently he's going to space.
Fucking Trekkie.
There's some more realistic depictions of him, although including the 1935 movie and its 2020 remake, The Call of the Wild. There's a show, The Alaskans, which came out a few decades ago, and there's a show that I highly recommend called Deadwood. It's on HBO. I think you like this show.
I have HBO thanks to you.
Yeah, it came out. I want to say mid 2000s, but
I think I've
it's
heard of it.
about like it's a wild. Yeah, it's about a Wild West little town, whatever, and they you know you have different gamblers and saloon owners and vigilantes and all these people. But there is a character in that. I remember this character who arrived and he would try to sell people soap with the whole money trick wrapped around it. So,
Oh.
but I think there's like 3 seasons of it. There's some I forget the one actor's name, but he used to be in a lot of things. Let's see here. Hold on. Give me a moment. This is the first time we had to have a producer this episode.
Yeah, look at that. I
Yeah,
don't even have my
Deadwood,
phone, so I
2004,
can't
2000.
produce.
Yeah, well, there are also some other major historical people they have portrayed in there. It is about, yeah, the 1870s Western, where Deadwood, South Dakota, where it's become an annexed into the Dakota territories, where it's going from like a small camp to a town. It's actually very oh, look at this, won 8 Emmy Awards. So there you go.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's gonna do it for me here. I hope everyone enjoyed today's topic about the life and death of a criminal who created not one, not two, but three criminal empires throughout the Americas. Really fucking smart man for a criminal.
Yeah, this dude's brilliant.
If you would like to be conned into listening to more episodes about our criminals, let us know. And until then, actually, I have a source for this one to mention.
No.
I wrote this down, and I should have put in my conclusion before I almost said it. But there is a book called Elias Soapy Smith: The Life and Death of a Scoundrel that played a heavy part in me writing this up. So if you're interested in this, look that up or go watch Star Trek. I don't know, but when you make your choice, or until you do, full fucking send it.
Full fucking send it.